hello to all and welcome back. And today we're going to talk about where we are now, where do we go from here, and just how we feel from the events that occurred on yesterday. And I feel like I can breathe again. And right now we have two wonderful guests that are waiting in the stands, and I'm going to bring them both on, and they both have been with us before. So let's bring in Lanita and Sandra. Hi, ladies.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. Can you hear me, Sandra?
I can.
Good, good, good. So, this seems to be oh happy day.
Quite a difference.
Totally, totally. So, first, tell me, how did you feel about yesterday?
If you, is it okay if I go first or?
Sure,
Hi,
sure.
Lanita, by the way, nice to meet you.
Lanita, Sandra, Lanita.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
That's my picture.
Very nice picture. I woke up nervous, to be honest, because there was still the residual feelings from January 6th and the fact that they had to lock DC down. It was like a fortress. So there was just, and I can be kind of an anxious person anyway. So there was this anxiety. And as the process was playing out and
Right.
you had them up on the pedestal or whatever that part of the Capitol is, and I kept thinking, oh my gosh, is a National Guard person going to shoot them, or is a drone going to come and I was expecting something terrible to happen, and then finally once they poured in, I was like, okay,
breathe.
I can breathe now.
Yes.
And then the rest of it was just awesome. It was amazing.
It was. And the lineup was really, really wonderful.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the 22-year-old poet.
Oh my goodness.
She just
awesome.
I wish I had half the wisdom and talent that she had when I was 22. She had like a wisdom beyond.
Yes.
It was beautiful. So beautifully spoken.
Yes. And the words, everything just, and even Lady Gaga had her dove with the olive branch on.
Yeah, there was so much symbolism.
Yes. Yes.
Of starting over, it's a new day, peace, unity. Such a change from, if you think about 4 years ago and that crazy town inauguration and his crazy speech, and oh my gosh, I can't see how anybody couldn't be attracted to such a more positive vision of where they want the country to, and then to have our first woman vice president. That just I had posted on my Facebook page. I'm like, that's huge. I don't think major really grasp what a big deal that is for us.
Right. Major. Okay, Lanita, what about you?
Well, one thing I found interesting was that Garth Brooks got a lot of flack and a lot of people who promised never to buy his music ever again because they believe he's a traitor to his, I don't know,
wow,
people, party, I'm not sure. But he thought it important enough to show again that sense of unity and to remind people we are one country. This isn't yours, this isn't mine, it's ours. And he was prepared to endure that, and he will, but I think he will gain more fans and supporters than he'll lose.
Yeah, I believe that as well.
That crowd, they always threaten. They always thought we're going to boycott this, we're going to boycott that. Remember when they were going to boycott Nike and the Nike sales went through the roof? It's I wouldn't be
Yes.
worried if I was Garth Brooks.
Well, I agree with you. Unfortunately, well, the Dixie Chicks were no Garth Brooks, and so they did suffer. But
Yes. They did.
Garth, as I understand, is the most successful male performer ever of any genre. So he's
Wow.
pretty cool right now. He's good.
He's sad.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So, I mean, did you all wear your pearls on yesterday?
No pearls.
No
I was
pearls.
just here by myself in my cast. I was in my pajamas still. So
Me too.
Okay.
May I just be honest?
Uh-huh.
I have been praying since election day that Joe Biden's health would be good and just sort of he could maintain his good health until the 20th, until after the swearing in, so that if anything happened, Kamala would be in place.
yeah,
Right.
Frankly, I've never
Right.
had a president this old, and I was concerned.
Right. And I mean, he was kind of making me a little tired. I mean, he was everywhere, and I was
signing
like,
executive orders.
yeah, he walking here, he walking there, he's standing here, he holding the baby while he was watching the concert, and I'm like, what? And did you take a nap? Please, I need one now.
Allegedly, he's waited 50 years for this, so he
Yes.
I will sleep later. I can sleep when I'm dead.
For sure. I mean, he's just like, like the Energizer Bunny. We got to do this, we got to do that, this. Did you see when he had his Zoom call with all his nominees that's going to be in his administration?
Right. Yeah.
That.
Wasn't there like thousands of them or something, and they had all the screens?
Yeah. And he was like, if I see that you talk down to anyone, disrespect anyone, I will fire you on the spot.
I did hear that, yes. I'm not used to this.
Yeah.
It's like, what? You mean you want people to respect each other? What?
Right. I think it's going to take us a while to remember that this is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're supposed
definitely.
This is how it used to be.
Yes, dignity, have some decency, class, and then it was just so many things going on. And then when Kamala had to read, replacing herself, and she was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Yeah. And they were sworn in, and now Schumer, he's the majority leader.
Goodness.
And Mitch is kind of cowering down, like,
Mitch was Mitch today.
Yeah.
What is it that I missed it. I know he said something about he wanted to put off the impeachment hearing, which I kind of feel like, okay, they shouldn't be too upset about that because all the cabinet members and everything have to be confirmed. But was there something else that he did that was just being a jerk as usual? Or
he wants to, during the last impeachment, they managed to do two things, so they can confirm and impeach, but he wants to delay it until February to give Trump's lawyers time to prepare, because apparently they've had nothing to do for the last week. So he wants to give them until February to prepare. And he's also upset that Schumer doesn't want to share power. He was never willing to do it, but apparently he's under the impression that they should share power.
Really? And you shared power. Really, dude?
Right.
Well, I know Schumer's like, no, dude.
I hope so, because sometimes Democrats can be a little cavy.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
I know.
They do that. And it's like, no, you have a mandate.
Yes.
And, everybody worked very hard.
You saw all that Mitch did, all that he enabled Trump for all those years. No, dude, no.
And he didn't even recognize Biden as president-elect until December 15th.
Exactly. And even in his little speech, he never mentioned Schumer. When they were on the floor yesterday, did you hear him in his little speech say anything about, he said something about the pro temp president, but he never acknowledged Schumer now being the majority.
Right.
What's he gonna do? Just keep his head in the sand and pretend like he's in charge still?
I was like, really, man? You're going to say everyone else?
They're just so
and not even.
But Mr. Trump didn't say Biden once, and maybe McConnell has taken his lead.
Although McConnell did say that Trump provoked the riot.
That was something.
And that he did some impeachable offenses.
I was surprised that he said that Trump perpetuated lies.
Mm-hmm. That was interesting. And now we have, what's his name? Ted Cruz.
Cruz and Hawley.
Yeah.
The dynamic duo.
At the inauguration.
Oh my God.
Cruz allowed at the inauguration. That's what I want to know. Whose idea was that?
I'll bet it was McConnell's. I'll bet he threatened them and said, you can do whatever you want on January 21st, but on January 20th, we're going to pretend that we're a civilized democracy.
Right.
Your butt in that seat.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what he said. It was just really, really, and then, Pence tried to be very gracious.
No,
gotta hand it to him.
Here's something. Mike Pence, your boss incited a mob to try to hang you.
Yeah, they were looking for him too.
And then Trump's like, oh, you want to come to my going away party? No.
Really?
Finish the job.
I'm going to the inauguration, dude. I mean, I could have really lost my life. They was looking for Pence and Nancy.
They were yelling, hang Mike Pence, hang Mike.
Yes.
And Trump did not care. That's, imagine the realization that the guy whose back you've had for 4 years does not care whether you live or die.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Really shouldn't be shocked, though. I mean,
true.
But I think in his mind, he's thinking, I enabled you. I stuck by you. I was loyal. I didn't say anything much against you, even though I knew all this craziness was going on and you were crazy.
Guys in the
right.
Talked about
So you would, have them go after me and not even be concerned.
Call and be like, oh, are you okay?
Yeah, exactly. Did you get away?
Pence just realized it was his turn. Donald was loyal to nothing and no one. It was just Pence's turn.
Yeah.
So very true. And that's why, and he's not paying Giuliani.
Although he may have given Giuliani a pardon, but it could be one of those pocket pardons that no one finds out about until Giuliani gets indicted and he goes,
yeah. But even if he gave him a pocket pardon, then he still can't plead the fifth if they come
if it's federal.
Right. If it's federal, yeah. Right. Yeah. Because he can't pardon him in these state crimes.
Right. Yeah. And as far as I know, SDNY, Southern District in New York, has been investigating Giuliani for a while now.
Okay. Well, he's been doing some crazy things. If they, try to follow this money with these last pardons, they already said that someone had been stating that, it was like $2 million. Pardons were going for $2 million.
That's what someone allegedly suggested, that they would have to pay Giuliani for Giuliani's input, or
allegedly, yes.
Allegedly.
Let's say you give Giuliani, here's my $2 million. Can you say something good for me? Put in a good word, and then Trump goes, "Oh, no, I'm not going to pardon." Just like the Joe Exotic guy.
Mm-hmm.
He all excited. They had a limo waiting for him and everything. And then, it didn't come through. Like, you give Giuliani that money, are you guaranteed a pardon, or it's up to?
Well, I think that he was
Don't get the money
going
back.
to be a funnel. He was going to be probably a funnel. He was going to probably get,
which is legal.
Yeah. He was going to be a funnel, and it was going to end up, the majority allegedly with Trump. But also, it's kind of sad that the insurrectionists that are getting arrested, that was crying out, please pardon me, and he didn't pardon them.
He was advised. Pardon. I love it.
Yeah. He was advised not to do that because it could incriminate him.
Yeah.
So you're pardoning them because you actually told them to do whatever.
Right.
And they were screaming, he told me, our president told us to do this.
And that could be used against him.
Yeah.
If he tries to claim, well, I didn't tell him to do that. And then now you've got multiple of these schmucks saying, Trump told me to be there. Looking for him.
I know the lawyer who advised Trump. I thought to myself, you've let me down at every step, please. And finally, he told Trump, he advised him in a correct way, do not pardon these people.
Was that Cipollone?
Cipollone. Pat.
It's like, wow, and now, of course, now the Proud Boys are turning on Trump. There's, it's like, did you not know that you were conned, folks? I mean, they're crying, women are crying. Oh, did he?
I've seen on Twitter.
Lied to me.
Oh my gosh, there's this one hilarious video on Twitter where it's this one maggot woman, I call them maggots, who's crying.
Yes, I saw that.
And they interspersed it with South Park. Tears. So funny.
Yes.
Cry more.
Yes.
I know they were with us in 2016.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's so sad to me, that now so many are waking up and we were duped. You should have known that he is who he is. Look at his life prior. He's stiff contractors.
Excuse me, 3 wives. Porn star.
Yes.
Your wife is recuperating.
Hello.
Didn't have the greatest ethics ever.
Thank you. And you would have thought, even the grabbing the pee and all of that, and they just
that's just locker room talk. That's just locker room.
That's right. It's just the boys talking in the locker room.
Yeah.
That's just Hollywood right there, and
just gloss over it. And it's
the problem is, I think the QAnon folks and others believe they've been told that they have to lay in a store of supplies of food, water, ammunition. They've been told that Biden is going to do something horrible, destroy the country, arrest them, place the U.S. Under martial law or something. On Facebook, I saw so many people who supported Trump saying, pray for the nation. They were all saying pray.
What reality do these people live in? They had 8 years of Biden as vice president. Okay. Obama did door to door and take your gun. You never did martial law.
Thank you.
He's got a good economy.
So it's like, really, people? And of course, and the thing that people are not seeing or accepting is really almost everything that Trump has said. I'm draining the swamp. I'm this, that. He is the swamp. He was really talking about himself and his cronies. And nobody caught it. They're thinking it's somebody else, but actually he was talking about himself and his cronies. He put all the swamp monsters in place, and they are doing so much stuff I'm sure is going to come out about what.
Oh, this stuff is already starting to trickle out.
Yes.
I thought there was a plan, that the Trump administration had a plan for the vaccine rollout. Nope, there's no plan. You got to make one from scratch. He was too busy trying to fight the election results for the last 2 months.
I was surprised that many of the people, I guess, again, lies perpetuated by QAnon, they expected that everyone at the inauguration would be surrounded by military, and Biden and everyone would be arrested, thrown into Gitmo, and then killed later. But they were expecting a military takeover, and that Trump would come in riding his white Charger,
looking like Rambo.
Right.
You know, he's altered those pictures.
Right.
Look like Rambo or what, which is
and then because it's not going to happen on January 20th. He's going to be inaugurated and take his oath again. What? And none of that happened. None, because it was not going to happen. People, stop it.
It was a grift.
QAnon, stop it.
What do you think that Trump supporters, the ones who are so sad, were hoping to get from this, to gain from it? Trump's win. What was it that they really wanted?
You know, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I still encounter some of them on Facebook, and I just ask them, what did he ever do for you? Name one thing he ever did for you. And I remember when they did those tax cuts, which predominantly benefited the wealthy, and you had these people going, oh, I got an extra $50 in my biweekly check. Like, you're going to pay for that at the end when you do your taxes. Because he's just giving you, a payroll tax cut or whatever, but you're going to make it up for all the deductions and things that they eliminated. And that tax cut wasn't to benefit you.
But a lot of people didn't, when he was doing the payroll and the other tax cut, a lot of companies didn't do it because they knew that in January the people were going to have to pay that back. It wasn't going to help anyone.
Yep. It was just, once again, it's just another grift.
Yeah, just, throwing something out there to act like, I'm really doing something for you all. And then what ended up happening, even though he signed the executive order, then even the federal agencies were given a choice to implement it. And they were like, no, because it's going to hit these people. They're in a pandemic. It's going to hit them harder in January.
Of course, Trump said, I'll make it permanent if I win.
Yeah, and his little blackmail.
Yeah.
That's
like a good mafia don.
I'll make you all good, just like me.
This was mafiosis.
Yeah. He is a mobster.
Yeah.
Giuliani's a mobster, and
Yeah. And it just was like, wow, this is just, I felt like I finally woke up from a nightmare.
Yeah.
On 16th Street instead of on Elm Street. It was on 16th Street. I'm like, what in the world? Where are we? Who are we?
Long 4 years. Oh, long month too.
It was the longest.
This is the longest lame duck period of a presidency I have ever experienced in my life.
Was it really long, or did it just seem long?
It just seemed long. It seemed like it was dragging and dragging.
The worst part for me was the realization that tens of or hundreds of millions of my fellow Americans are willing to see the country destroyed in order to get what they want. They're willing to see their fellow Americans killed, hanged, lynched.
Yeah.
That they have no respect for democracy. I didn't expect that. I thought when they said they were patriots, they meant it. I see now they have a different conception of what that means.
Right.
Than I do. A concept, rather, of what that means.
It's puzzling. It's sobering. And I think it's going to make a lot of people really wonder, what do we do with these people now? Because these are our friends and our family. And I think I was mentioning last time that I have family members who were Trump supporters, and one went full on QAnon cuckoo. And you can't talk to them. And they've had years of listening to Rush Limbaugh and all the Fox News and all this misinformation. Now there's Newsmax and OAN. Well, they'll just blatantly lie. They'll say like aliens came and, replaced Joe Biden with a snake or something, and these people believe it.
Lizard people.
What do you do with these people,
Hey, Daryl.
Your meat. Oh, hey.
Hello there. Sorry I'm late.
Okay, no problem. We've been just, talking about the events of yesterday and just where we are, where we going, how we feel.
How you doing, Daryl?
Hello there. It's Sandra, right? Okay.
Daryl, Sandra.
And of course, I know Lanita already.
Hey, yes.
Hey there.
Hey.
So how are you feeling, Daryl?
How am I feeling? The best thing I can say is, like I tell everybody, it feels like a weight has been lifted off your back, with everything that has happened. I'm optimistic about what the future has to hold. I find it humorous how most of my conservative friends want things to happen right away. They're like, oh, how come he's not doing this? Oh, how come he's not doing that? I'm like, guys, he's been in office. Yeah, not even a day yet, and you want everything done, but yet we were so
4 years and barely got anything done.
Exactly. So I'm like,
except for what May had the record for the most tweets. I mean,
yeah. I don't think we've seen a tweet yet. In fact, I actually look forward to listening to the daily briefings.
Yes.
I'm like, this is crazy. The bar was so low that anything that is done now almost feels like it's a new world, almost like incredible. Things that used to be considered just basic, just this, that's what you do. Now you're like, wow, they actually are holding a daily briefing. And guess what? She's actually trying to tell you the truth. And if she doesn't know, she'll say, I don't know.
Yes.
But I'll get back to you. And that's such a refreshing thing to hear.
So,
it's not rating any of the reporters or
right. It's not that. And Fauci said, I was instructed that if I do not know, then I just say I don't know. Don't make up anything. Don't guess. Just say I don't know. And so, Biden is like, hey, we have to be forthcoming, and it may not. Everything they say may not be exactly what you want, but it's going to be the truth.
The truth.
And they're not going to do anything.
Truth is hard to, it's sometimes it's hard to take, but I'd rather tell you up front the good and the bad than kind of mislead you, because sooner or later it's going to come back on you.
Yeah.
Sooner or later. So it's that's where I'm at right now. I'm hoping that this might sound crazy, but I'm actually hoping that they do delay trying to move forward with the impeachment in the Senate. I like them to. I actually thought the recommendation that, believe it or not, that McConnell had was actually a good one, saying, "Hey, let's wait until the middle of February. Let's get through with the cabinet picks and so forth, and then once that's done, then we can move towards the impeachment process." And we all, it also gives that former guy the ability to obtain counsel we've given him notice, and it gives him the ability to obtain counsel and put together his defense, whatever that may be. But it doesn't appear that we're just trying to rush it through without giving him the ability to have counsel. And I actually think that makes sense. Let's focus on getting the business of the country in order. He's going to be held accountable. I think Nancy Pelosi was right when she said, we can't just let this pass. Rap on a knuckle and say, hey, he's gone now, so let's move on. No, that's not the answer either.
Yeah.
You do that, and you continue to have issues like this. So an example needs to be set, and people need to realize that when something like this occurs, there are consequences to what you did.
Right.
And for all of them too, not just Trump, for all the Congress,
all the people that came. Someone said to this early on. They were talking about the rioter that was shot.
The insurrectionist.
Yeah, the insurrectionist. And I was like, what's wrong? Excuse my French. Her ass shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
And I'm a veteran.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
Right.
Whether the person, you may think the person was wrong for pulling it. They had the right to pull their weapon. The fact that you were in that door,
right? You
were already wrong.
Broke the window. They had already broke the glass on the window, and she was going.
Yeah, the officer did the right thing because the officer had to protect. All the Congress people were right there.
Yeah, and how I look at Law and Order a lot. You know how they always say when they had an illegal search and they obtained something via the illegal search, and the judge throws it out, and they say, well, you can't bear fruit from a poisonous tree or something. Well, you can't find right, from a poisonous act. It would have never happened if you were there. If you weren't.
Yeah, there's no justification. There's no justification for what she
did. Shortly before, she'd filmed herself saying she was willing to die. To achieve her goals. She said that. And she did.
Your ass got what you asked for.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable, your words.
And I was happy to see yesterday the young man. I said it the day that they started showing the officer who it appeared like he was running away, but the fact that he had a purpose in mind. He knew what he was doing. The fact that he kept stopping, looking back, trying to get the people to follow him, and so forth. And he was taking them away from, the former vice president and where him and his family were, and sought back up. And I was so happy that he got a promotion, and our vice president acknowledged that and made him part of the ceremony, because
that was awesome.
To show the calm that he displayed and on his feet and things of that sort. Because I told somebody, if it was me, I'd have taken my gun out and shot somebody in the leg. Be clear. Because all of a sudden your mind has a different way of thinking when you see somebody. Oh, darn, those are real bullets. That reality.
Yeah. Well, that's what they were saying when that was Ashley, the woman who got shot.
Ashley Babbitt. Yeah.
Yeah, they said if she hadn't when she got shot, the whole crowd okay, back off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if she had gotten through that glass, she would have said, "Okay, guys, come on,
come in,
everybody up."
Yeah.
So that's even more reason why that had to happen.
Yeah. Yep. It is. And the thing is, it looks like Durrell frozen. Durrell, you frozen? Yeah, I think he's frozen. Woo. Okay, he'll have to come in and come back out. come in and go out. But let me see if I can text him to let him know he's frozen. You are frozen. Okay.
Now Let It Go is going through my head. I'm sorry.
Okay, then he's back.
My fault. Little technical difficulty.
I said he's frozen. Okay, what were you saying, Anita?
No, I was just talking about Let It Go. Let it go. Let it go. Sorry.
Oh,
You know,
God.
and you know, Lanita said something good, because I know yesterday I wanted so much for them just to stop talking about the insurrection that happened on the 6th. I'm like, let today be about today. And all moving forward, and let's not dwell on, we know what happened on the 6th, but let's just celebrate today for what it is, and let the 6th be taken care of tomorrow. But you didn't need them to constantly keep bringing it up. I don't even want people to bring up his name. Things have come to light. You're getting a little taste of it now with the fact that the COVID committee came in and they were like, well, the reason why they didn't want to share anything with us because there was nothing to share.
Yeah, right.
There was no plan in place. We've
That's
been
sad. That's despicable.
It is.
They're just piecemealing stuff together. Like, exactly. Should we do this?
On the fly.
Not knowing what they were doing. And then the Obama administration tried to give them a pandemic plan, and they didn't pay any attention. They weren't really there to govern. They weren't there to do the job. They were there to rip us all off, honestly.
They were operating on as it comes, piece by piece. We're still waiting on this revised health plan.
You didn't see that big thick book that she gave the lady?
That's full of white paper. Full of white paper, full of just blank paper.
You know what? That would be they should put that needs to be
I mean,
they put in the museum or something.
But that was Smithsonian.
The Smithsonian.
That's going to go in the Smithsonian.
Let's expose
or the museum. Once they find out.
They'll say, well, that's not true. They've replaced that and so forth. And that's the thing. People have to, the crazy thing is ever since they banned him from social media and so forth, I honestly feel like I don't see a bunch of junk in Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
I see, but not to the level that I used to see. And even I don't know if people have just defriended me or not, but some people that I used to hear from, all of a sudden I don't see anything from them anymore. And it's amazing how that amount of false news and so forth has been cut back.
Yeah, well, they said way before, I think even the election, that he was the biggest source of misinformation on social media. And so then when he was gone, no Twitter, no Facebook, it cut that down by like 75%.
Oh man, it's crazy.
Everything he would put out, his little minions,
Right. And now his little boys, Proud Boys, they against him now. They call him a shill. And we've been duped. Oh, he's weak. And did you know that what's the other group that now is saying, oh, well, actually Biden is our savior?
Oh, the QAnon people are like, maybe Biden was you.
Yeah.
You all along.
I saw that.
To reframe everything to try to fit, they can't be wrong.
Right. We can't be wrong. So now let's change the narrative to this,
I
like to ask all those people. So ask them a month or 2 months from them. Did you lose your job? Did your healthcare go up? I mean,
did they get your guns?
Yeah. All these conspiracy theories that you thought were going to happen. The one thing I can tell you, all the things that we thought would happen when Trump came in, they happened.
Yes.
And worse. And then some. I
Yeah.
did not have pandemic on my bingo card. I did not have attempted coup on my bingo card.
I did.
Well, we know Lanita has an inside track since, her and Obama. That's her main.
Yeah, your man was looking pretty suave, Lanita.
Don't tell me about it.
I don't know. I think his ace boom was sharp now.
Yes, she was now. She was.
And the funny thing is, I didn't see when Michelle got out the car. When I first saw her, I thought it was Kamala, the vice president. And I said, well, darn, Kamala she done upped her game. And then once I looked again, I said, oh, that's Michelle. Oh yes. I said, oh man, Kamala she done went to the next level. But then again, and I thought it was funny if you saw, I'm glad that CNN, MSNBC, I don't know what Fox did, but none of them. And I look at Fox News. Let me be clear. I do, because you want to know what the rhetoric is on the other side. And when you look at the two or comparison, you can see how skewed they're covering things.
Right.
But I was so happy that once Trump got on Air Force One still, and they saw him depart, they didn't even cover his landing in Florida. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I noticed that.
you the other guy now. And honestly, I kind of had just a twinge bit of, oh man, I feel sorry for Pence.
Oh,
Yeah, I kind of.
When they saw him.
don't.
Yeah, I kind of.
No,
I know.
no.
I know, Lanita.
This is a man who
Lanita, look. Just a little bit.
The man finally does the right thing at the end of his tenure.
Yeah.
And now,
After
everybody, people, the hearts have softened. No, he was horrible for 4 years.
He was
Yep.
terrible. He was an enabler.
And he has to pay that price. He made his bed. He attached himself to that person and thought that, hey, this is going to be my ticket to the next level. And now he has to. His place in history would have been written. It'll be a little side note that at the very end, in the last 14 days, he found some cojones. But in looking at him, the thing that I will say is this: he was man enough at the end to stand before everybody and do what he was supposed to do.
Right.
It's when he's not going to be forgiven, but in the end, and just like the Lord says, all you have to do is ask me for forgiveness. One time you could have done all these bad things, but you asked me for forgiveness, and I'm going to forgive you, and so forth. We're not God either, so we might forgive, but we won't forget.
Yeah. And I wonder too if an argument could be made, because he was head of the coronavirus task force. You remember?
Yeah.
And I think about what just recently happened in Flint, and there were some officials who got indicted for involuntary manslaughter for what they did in Flint. And I think, how is what happened with COVID any different in a lot of ways? They might be facing involuntary manslaughter charges at some point. Because if you look at
that's going to
they
be
put out saying they wanted people to get infected and all that for herd immunity.
Yeah, they was doing their herd immunity.
That's going to be tricky in the sense that that's a fine line you have to be careful about walking.
True.
When you feel as though that you can sue the federal or bring charges against those officials who are in office for failure to act.
Right.
You can get them on specifics. Do you remember? You can get them on specifics. Do you remember when they had the CDC? They had states They told states to stop reporting their numbers to the CDC. They had someone else take over. They lied, they fudged. I think you could get them on that. Very specific things that misled everybody. And because people had false data, they had a false sense of maybe security.
Right. Right. They intentionally put out false information.
Right.
Yeah. That's going to be, I think, criminally might be hard, but from a political standpoint, I think his political career is over. I'd really like to see, it's going to be interesting in the next cycle where and how the Republicans, those who supported and tried to carry this lie, you know, the Grahams of the world, even though he's secure for his next seat, but you know, you got a lot of the Ted Cruz's,
Holy,
Holy, and Barbara, whatever her name is, the young lady. You know, she's a new House representative.
Robert, right?
There you go. But it'll be interesting to see how they pan out. That's going to really give you a good sense of where we are, if or when Biden's administration is successful in terms of changing, you know, turning this pandemic around. We start seeing some normalcy come back to the country and so forth. It'll be pretty difficult for those people to challenge that, and hopefully they'll see the light. And you know, we'll see what happens.
I heard today that our numbers, our COVID positivity went up because of events of the 6th. Yay, DC.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to figure there were tens of thousands of people in January 6th running around without masks and coming from all over the world.
Yeah. You know, but you know, what a stark contrast it has been when you look at the news today, and you look at, you know, the people at the White House, officials and things of that sort, just to wear a simple mask.
Yeah.
You'd have thought that you were asking these people to do something that was just so strenuous, but just to put on a mask, and how easy it is. And let's be the leaders of change. And so if you're doing that from the onset and they're seeing that on TV every day, then why is somebody going to, you know, try to go against it?
Yeah.
Because he who shall not be named wouldn't do it, didn't believe that they would help. It was the makeup. He was afraid of disturbing his makeup. But people said, if I wear a mask, others will think I'm a liberal, and I can't have that.
Yeah, they politicized it.
Yep.
Something as simple as wearing a mask, they politicized it, and you know, but you know, as it was funny, I was coming back from New Jersey. I went up to New Jersey for a quick trip, and on my way back, I stopped at a rest center, and it was a gentleman who was coming in, and he didn't have a mask. And I actually said to him, I said, I think you need a mask to wear in here. And he tried to come back and say something to me, but as soon as I said it, someone else said, yeah, you need a mask to come in here. And at which point he saw so many people coming at him, he was like, and he pulled out his mask. And I'm thinking to myself,
Wow.
Why did you need to say that? You know? And it was in his pocket. That's and I'm thinking to myself, why did you even need to let it get to that point where I had to say something to you, and then other people started saying something to you, when all you had to do was, it was literally in his pocket. It seemed like it was so, you can actually see the string hanging out his coat pocket. Wow. But you felt like, you know, by doing this simple thing, then, you know, you're a liberal or you're a Democrat, and I can't do it because, you know,
It's crazy. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. And just like they say, it was mandated for seatbelts. You're going to get a ticket. I mean, come on. Places, and even now, no smoking in certain places. Now you can smoke in hotels. Now you can smoke in restaurants. So there were restrictions, and this is for your health. And others, to be considerate. It's like, really?
That's so funny you say that, Cecilia, because people always talking about, I don't want the government to be telling me what I have to do. Well, we live in a democracy
all the time.
Exactly. I think we all can remember, at least I know I can, when you didn't have to wear seatbelts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that became law in 1983.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, and even when they tried to do that, I remember there was a slight backlash. People saying, government can't tell me what to do. Well, guess what? Don't put a seatbelt on.
You're right.
And watch what happens.
To your point, I just see something that says the U.S. Capitol Police are investigating a report that U.S. Representative Andy Harris, Maryland congressman, tried to bring a gun onto the House floor on Thursday.
Really?
It's more of that.
What?
You can't tell me what to do. Well, you're not supposed to have weapons on the House floor.
Exactly.
They're still pulling that crap.
They're still doing it. And I think it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, they're going to have to put their foot down and say, get out.
But didn't they implement fines? So now you can.
Yeah, they're supposed to.
But you know what? I don't even think forget the fines.
Right.
The bottom line is you're not supposed to enter these chambers. You're not supposed to enter this building with firearms. So either you're going to comply or you're not going to come into this chamber.
Yeah.
Right.
It becomes a big standoff and they grandstand and they want to get all this attention.
Take them away.
Crap.
Because if I walked up there with a firearm and I had a permit, you can bet your bottoms. Oh,
yeah.
That's going to be national news if I walk up there with a firearm.
And you're not going nowhere.
Exactly.
It's going to be clink, clink.
It's just absurd how these people keep trying to challenge, this simple thing. It's now law that you have to wear a mask in a federal building.
Yeah.
On federal land.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't wear one,
you're not getting in.
If somebody tries to smoke a cigarette, I can bet if somebody tries to smoke a cigarette on the floor of U.S. Senate or in the House of Reps, they're going to get them out.
Yes.
Or on a plane. Imagine trying to do that.
What's the difference?
And don't have your child in the proper seat in your car. I mean, so it's like y'all not even thinking.
But the government, I don't want the government telling me what to do. The government tells us what to do. Let's be clear. Live in a world where you don't have rules and so forth. Then you'll really be calling for the government to step in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And I don't want the government telling me I can't go into this person's house. Why so it's like I don't think people think about those type of things when they talk about they're taking away our rights. No, you have the right to say what you want to say. That's a beautiful thing, because in other countries you can't even do that.
Right.
So.
And we also have to talk about responsibility. It's not only about your rights. You have responsibility to your fellow citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's the thing. So many people are unfamiliar with what their responsibilities are. They haven't they don't know what civics are. They've never taken a civics class. They think they're just free to do what they like. That's the problem. I think it should be mandatory for every American to take to go through continuing education once a year. Every single year, you have to take a civics class.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a bad idea, because you see so many people that they don't even understand how basic government works. And a lot of people with Mike Pence, they honestly thought he could get up there and overthrow an election for Trump. That was never what this process was about. They're so stupid they don't even know what January 6th was for and what the requirements were. They
And
do something that would have been illegal for him to do.
even when they were told, they didn't believe it or they didn't care.
Yeah.
That amazes me.
But you want to talk about democracy, but you don't want to follow the rules that make this a democratic society, makes this work. You know, and the crazy thing is, they don't even teach civics in school anymore.
For the most part, no.
You know,
I'm thinking
Mhm.
they talk about freedom, but I'm not sure they're talking about democracy. They're talking about freedom.
Yeah.
They're talking about their freedom, but not for everybody else.
Exactly.
Just for themselves, and that's a form of fascism. You know what they're basically
Thank
fighting
you.
for fascism.
They don't want to understand. You have the right to smoke a cigarette, but that right is excluded when it impacts my right. So if you want to go over there and smoke, that's cool. Okay. But if we're in this building, the laws indicate that you can't come in here and smoke. So guess what? You're not going to smoke. Now, what you do in your home is what you do, and that's your right. You know, and it's amazing how just people. It's just hard for them to get that concept through their head that, you know, and they want to always keep talking about, oh, the 70-something million that voted. We're not hearing them, but you're not hearing the 80-something million people that voted against them. And last time I looked,
elections work. There's some people who vote for the winner, and there's some people who vote for the loser. And the people who vote for the loser, sorry, you don't get a say. You don't get control over it.
years ago, you know,
Right.
What you going
And
to
they
do?
have to. And what in 2016 there wasn't any insurrection or people trying to bust into the Capitol when they was certifying the election, and it was really obvious.
She won the popular vote. She won
Right, she won the popular vote, but
we were going, what about the 67 million? We weren't saying
right, and it was okay then.
We hate it, but okay, we got to deal with it.
Right, and it was okay then to certify the election, even though she won the popular vote and something was shaky about the electoral college. But okay.
But that's because their guy won, so it was shaky.
Right.
I won.
Right.
Then the stakes weren't so high. Just think about what Trump gave them. He said white supremacy is okay. We're going to have more of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what so many of them were fighting for.
Yes.
And with Biden said, we're not going to put up with it, which Fox didn't appreciate. And these people who felt special and finally on top said, we're going to lose that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why they're so angry. It's more than just, you know, tax cuts and all of that. I am where I'm supposed to be. This is my land. My land.
And when they were shouting on January 6th, our house,
yeah,
who they were talking about.
Yeah,
Talking about everybody, the whole diverse population.
It was white supremacy. But the crazy thing is, we have a short memory. When you look back on it, during the Obama's first administration, they indicated that the biggest threat to our democracy was white supremacist organizations that were brewing up, and nobody wanted to hear that. Mm-hmm. You know, and that was in 2000. That was back in 2008, 2009.
Do you remember how they kept saying Obama won't say the term radical Islamic terrorism? Remember how they kept saying that? I felt like that's what they wanted to steer all the terrorism stuff towards Muslims, get it away from the white supremacists onto the Muslims.
That was proof, allegedly, that Obama was a racist, and that's why he was doing that. FBI be damned.
It doesn't matter what the FBI says. Yeah.
What do you think about how the Senate, the Republicans, want to all talk about, let's be kumbaya, let's be kumbaya. I think it's comical. I think it's and I would be shocked if Schumer gives up the the filibuster.
Yeah.
Filibuster off the table, which, let's think about it. That's how they got the last Supreme Court justice in. I mean, it's just so hypocritical how these people forget
Yes.
how
Yes.
they changed the rules and so forth. You would have never gotten the last Supreme Court justice
Barrett.
in there without them changing the rules where all they required was 51 votes in the Senate to confirm, because that's exactly what they got.
Yes.
And so I just find it very interesting, for them to do that. And I wouldn't be mad at them if they went that way with all their picks and what they want to do, just make it a straight 51 majority.
Yeah.
But we can't get stagnant in these. Now it's not their time. There's real things that need to happen.
Yes, and people need to be put in place.
Yeah.
That has the expertise.
Yeah.
What? You're talking about qualified people doing jobs that they actually know how to do?
The wedding planner or the head of the WWE or
Exactly. I'm glad they stopped.
Ivanka's florist.
If you heard, they put a halt. They put the person on administrative leave.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Michael Ellis.
What agency was that? That was
Michael Ellis.
Was he the lead counsel for the NSA?
I think so.
Yes.
And of course, that's a civil service position, but it's distinct of how easily and how they were trying to push that through. And he is not going to be able to maintain that position because he's not qualified.
Right.
And so I'm glad that they at least have recognized that, and it'll probably repost it and go through the proper selection process and get somebody that's qualified to be in there, to do that. But it's going to take time,
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's a lot he has to undo. And who is the person that they requested a resignation, but they didn't give it, so he fired him?
Was the guy who was the head of Voice of America radio thing?
They got rid of him. The Voice of America.
Thank God.
The Surgeon General was the guy.
I felt sorry for him. The Surgeon General. He should never have been there.
I know. I think he cried. I always felt like he really was trying.
I used to say to myself, like, what is he doing? Like, what is his sometimes you gotta learn just when to be quiet. Because I'm only gonna make myself look foolish. So I'm just gonna stand back and speak when spoken to, because I'm not doing myself any good. But and I loved when Biden got on the other day when he was swearing in a bunch of his appointments that don't require Senate approval in his administration, and they did it via Zoom or remotely. And he said to them all, the one thing that we're going to be is civil towards one another, and if it's found that we're not, you will be fired.
Yeah, he said on the spot.
On the spot, no question.
You disrespect someone.
And that could, I'm in a position like that where I can be let go. Like, they don't have to give me no reason. They can just call me up and say, bring your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's setting the tone from the jump.
Yes.
What the expectation is going to be.
Right.
Okay.
We're going to be decent to one another.
So that was so telling.
No more firing people by tweet.
I'm gonna fire you in your face.
They should get a little gift that shows a smack. I'm gonna smack you right remotely. Get that. But but it just gives you a sense of a good feeling.
Yeah.
To see and to hear some of these things, because you just didn't see it or hear it, the past 4 years. And I don't think I've heard fake news. I don't think I've heard fake news yet.
No, not yet.
You know that statement, this fake news. This fake
Yeah,
news.
I'm just waiting. Like, oh my, and then too, the press secretary, she's gracious, and she does say, okay, I'm about to wrap it up, and one thing she said is, she held up her mask and she said, this is what is required and we are to lead by example. And that's his thing. He said, we're not going to be led by the example of our power, but by the power of our example.
Right.
That is powerful within itself.
Yeah, that was an important statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It means we're not going to bully people anymore.
Right.
So they can be best without being told to be best.
Oh, come on now. Dr. Biden's not going to be able to come up with some sort of campaign as good as that. How's she going to compete?
I know. And on Twitter, they really went after her when she was talking about be best. They was like, be gone.
Be best. Mary Trump said something like, be best if you left.
I will say this. I went over to Fox today, and they actually were showing a brief clipping of when they landed in Florida, and how Melania had changed her outfit. And when they got off of the plane and they were walking towards the car, he stopped and started waving. She was like,
she just boogied.
I'm done with that. I'm getting in the car.
I'm over it.
She said, look, I don't even have to pretend anymore. Look, let me
That's
just get
right.
down. Because she's laid her bed. She's like, someone asked me, do I think she's gonna leave him? I said, you done lost your mind. That woman she decided a long time ago that this money right here is too sweet to leave, But it's gonna be interesting even to see, because the backlash is coming when you start hitting somebody's dollars. These companies, you affecting their bottom line. They don't want to have anything to do with, and that's the funny thing is that's where you're really going to see how these low level, when I say house of representative candidates, the Senate candidates, corporations are withholding campaign dollars.
Exactly.
And that's where they're going to be impacted.
Because that's all these guys care about.
Yep.
Right. And because that's going to affect Mitch. So he's going to go and round them up and say some things like, look, our money, what?
Yep. And you have a lot of the next round comes in what, 2024?
2020, well, 2022.
2022.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
and the governors.
It's going to be here before you know it, And people are going to be, by the way, I'm going to be running for ANC commissioner in DC.
Really? Which one?
Okay.
Which one?
Which ward?
7, it's over in Southeast, 7B02.
Okay.
I'm going to throw my hat in there.
Cool.
And,
excellent.
Say, hey, no use being on the sidelines, forever.
Right.
Get out there and do something. Or try.
Yeah. Well, definitely let us know. We'll put you on. And I used to work over there at Ward 7. No, I worked in Ward 8.
Oh, you worked in Ward 8? Okay. I'm right over by. Ever since I left the Modern.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I left the Modern too.
Oh yeah. That was, but that's a whole nother conversation.
A whole nother.
I came over here to Southeast, and I like it. I like being in DC, but people, the public or the news media, they want to make Southeast appear to be so bad. Southeast has got some of the best property in DC.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And I'd like to be a part of the change that's going over here, because I see so much that can be done, and so much in the schools. Just want to take the knowledge that I know about schools, since I work with them closely and start trying to make things better over here, because it's definitely a inequitable distribution of resources when it comes to um, things over here in Southeast as compared to Upper Northwest.
Oh, definitely.
Daryl, would you let me know if there's anything I can do later to help you with anything you're doing with the schools? I really wanted to do what I can.
Okay. I pretty much, because of the nature of my job, I pretty much have a direct contact to every school principal in the city. Like, they're on my cell phone numbers. I can just call them up like, hey, because I have to work with them on a daily basis.
Okay.
And I try to bring certain aspects or equip them with certain knowledge that I know in terms of how to go about securing things they need for the schools in their area. And my priority is really, I try to make sure that the schools over in the 7th and 8th Ward are taken care of.
Okay.
Not that I'm forgetting about the schools in the 2nd and the 4th and all those, but
the need.
I'll share with you just an example if you just let me. In DC, all schools don't have the ability to hire their own technical resource for IT needs, right? Octo, the organization I work for, we supply those needs. Well, during the pandemic, we've not been able to go to all schools, and we work remotely. Well, Wilson, who is used to having an IT resource there provided by Octo, they didn't complain. They just said, you know what, that's cool. They went out and hired their own, but they have the resources to do that.
Okay.
Wilson was like, it's okay. You don't have to worry about sending anybody here. We're going to go ahead and hire our own person, which is cool. But Plummer or Randall Highlands, they can't do that. They don't have the dollars to do that. But when we get on phone calls and we're talking about the needs of DC schools, you always hear, well, what does Wilson need? And I try to tell them, no, let's forget about what Wilson needs. Let's set up our resource to what the Plumbers and the H.D. Woodsons and the Ron Browns and the Excel Academies and the Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X's and the Ballou High Schools. Let's find out what they and the Anacastias. Let's look at what their needs are, because they don't have the resources to go out and just buy stuff,
right?
Or hire people as like a Wilson or a Deal or a Duke Ellington.
How's Dunbar doing? Because they have a strong alumni.
So Dunbar is recovering from, I don't know if you remember, about 2 years ago, they had this thing where a lot of school principals were let go for things, let's be clear, that we understood were going on with testing and graduation and so forth. Because when you know the dynamics of how schools work, you can't keep anybody back. That's one. You have to graduate people. So they let go of their principal. They fired them mid-year. Now, let's understand, when that happens, the moment you fire a principal that has been there for 3 or 4 years, you've now set your school back 5 years. It's going to happen. Ballou High School, which had a phenomenal principal. Let me be clear. Yatunda Reeves was phenomenal. She's doing big things over in Baltimore now.
Wow.
They let her go. Ballou was on his like they were about to take off. The students there, they have been set back 5 years. Like where they're at today is it's where they were at 4 years before she came. Okay. And the sad thing is that nobody recognizes that. And the students are the ones that suffer. I recently put out, we have this big push that we're trying to get schools. Everybody say, let's get schools open. Let's reopen schools. Not right now. I believe we do need to reopen schools in August. You can't up and change an instructional process for students
In the middle.
halfway through the year.
Mhm.
They went through all this effort to put in place remote education. Let's focus on completing this year in the setup that we have, and let's reopen. Let's get everything in line to reopen in August of the next year. But they're trying to reopen schools February 1.
No.
Nobody understands what an impact that's going to be for students, that you have to now change something they've been used to doing for the past 10 months.
Right.
You know, it is crazy. You look at school systems, i.e. PG County in Maryland. My ex-wife works for PG County. PG County decided from the beginning that they were not going to open this school year.
Right.
That allowed teachers, staff, parents to put a process in place and know that was going to be it for this year.
Right.
They're moving along. They know they're going to be opening, come the new school year, but now everybody's been set. Instead of trying to constantly keep bringing, let's try this, let's do some have a little bit of population come back on this date, and then we'll phase in other people. It's not working. It creates, you don't know what's happening from month to month.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But people want the optics of it, saying, "Hey, we opened our schools."
Mm-hmm.
Testing. They're trying to do. They have. I don't know if you all are familiar with PARC.
Mm-hmm.
Anything. PARC is a standardized test that the school systems, the children have to take. That in DC means absolutely nothing. It doesn't. The only people that are impacted by PARC are the school administrators, the principals. They're rated on their scores from PARC. For a student, it means absolutely nothing to the student. They don't care. You have some students who sit down and they get the PARC exam and they just check off stuff. They don't read it. They just check it off just to be done with it. But it's all about the money.
Mm-hmm.
In your scores. DC has yet to make PARC mean anything to the students, i.e., when you take the PARC assessment in New Jersey, you have to get a passing grade in order to graduate.
Oh.
See, so now those students, you don't have to bribe the students to come to school and take the exam. In DC, you literally have to bribe students to come to school. You have to give them incentives like movie tickets.
Wow.
Buster free passes. This is, I kid you not, this is actually what you have to do in the school. Every year we set aside a budget, a dollar amount to incentivize kids to come to school and take their PARC exam. Field trips, movie tickets, dinner passes.
Doesn't that get expensive?
Yeah.
You set aside.
Is that part of so that's just part of the overall school budget.
Cost of doing business.
You have to make sure that you're giving them snacks and so forth during the exam. They have to have food that you have to give them. People don't see that. They don't see all the things that you have to do. We had one kid, I kid you not, he had to take the exam because the principal needed this student to take the exam. And he finally came to school. We had to actually go to his house and get him to come to school.
Wow.
When he came to school, we didn't know what we needed him there for. But then when he came to school and he found that he had to take the PARC test, he ran out the building.
Wow.
So,
Oh my gosh.
I can get off on schools and talk about schools all day. I know that's not, but
Well, tell me how are things going to change now that Betsy DeVos isn't? Seriously, how is that going to help us?
here's the thing. What Betsy was trying to do was she was a proponent of student vouchers and
Mhm.
so forth, right?
Right.
And I'm not a proponent of the voucher system. I believe in neighborhood schools. I hate, and Lanita, I'm gonna answer your question. I'm just trying to set up the context. In DC, they have something every year called EduFest, where all the schools go down to the what's that place over there by the old Redskin Stadium, the Armory,
Right.
and they set up their tables and their banner and things of that sort, and they buy all these things and get literature, all these little knickknacks about their school and giveaways, pencil pens, hats, water bottles, and basically you're sitting there and you're trying to convince, and parents now come down to EduFest because it's their opportunity to find out about every school. And if I'm at Roosevelt, it's my job to sit there and advocate for you to pick Roosevelt to come to in terms of the lottery than to go to Woodson. I'm basically sitting there telling you that, hey, don't go to that school because they're no good. I want you to come over here because we're better. So we're competing against one another. Now, what Betsy was trying to do was make it easier for the government to give vouchers to private schools and to charter schools. So now you can take that voucher, and instead of going to the public school, I can now use that $17,000 a year, because that's what a student is worth to every public school. When you're a student there, you're worth $17,000 a year. So now I can take that voucher and I can bring it over to this private school, okay, and that money will come to them and they can go to this school. Well, what happens is this: in DC, every year, OSSE, which is the organization that governs the budget, they give us money based on how many students we have in the school. So they have something called Count Day, where the OSSE representatives, they take what your student enrollment is on that day and base what your budget is. So it's very critical that, once again, you have to bribe the students to come to school that day so that you can be counted. Now, what the private schools do is, after Count Day, they have the ability to then purge their roster, meaning that they wait to after Count Day and say, you know what, Cecilia, Lanita, Sandra, you're not meeting our criteria, so we're going to expel you from school. Those students then come over to the public school where we have to take you. And it's your low performing students that we have that come, but they come, but what doesn't come with them is the money.
The money. Wow.
The money stays at the school that they were at when they were counted.
Wow.
So this is another scam, then, is what you're saying, because clearly she must have had connections to the companies that run these charter schools.
Yeah,
so they're just trying to shift the money away from the public funding into the private coffer.
Oh, yes. Now, don't get me wrong. I went to a private Catholic school when I was in high school, but my mother busted her ass to send me. If you want your child to go to a private school, then you as a parent need to do what you need to do and to make that happen.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that the public schools are getting robbed.
Exactly. If you look at the school programs, see, I'm very passionate about this when it comes to schools. When you look at the school programs, look back in the 70s and 80s, in part of the 90s, public schools had so much to offer kids. They had all different types of programs, types of clubs that you can join, school trips, just different type of things. They had production stations in their schools where students can learn how to be TV anchors and behind the scenes, all of that type of stuff. All those programs have been cut because they don't have the funding anymore, because back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, public schools were where you sent your kids. Private schools were for those people who could afford them and so forth. And now that you have the vouchering program, they're taking that money from the public schools and putting them into the private schools, okay? and it's taken away from what the public schools can offer, you know. And the ones who suffer again are the lower income people who can't, you know, who can't afford the private school, but they also have a higher percentage of that population have learning disabilities and so forth. So when the private schools find out that, hey, I don't want you here because you're going to bring down my scores.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'll take you for and it's so sad. You see, they'll take you for a hot second,
Wow.
but then they'll kick you out if they'll give you maybe a year.
Now that should not be allowed.
It should
not be allowed.
Like I shared this information with one of the candidates. I'm not going to mention their names. That was running for what's that? The school board. One of the school board reps for the city. You have to be elected in that position. And I told him, I said, they want. I said, if you champion this cause right here, it's something simple. If you just change the policy as it relates to private and charter schools being able to purge their rolls, I'm not saying that they can't purge their rolls, but you make it a policy that if you throw a student out, the funding that came with that student has to travel with them to the public school that they go. You'll find that a lot of one or two things are going to happen. Either they're not going to purge their rolls, and then what you'll see is those scores that they're so proud of, they'll start coming down.
Yeah.
Or they won't even accept the student to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay, because guess what? These public schools that DC has been spending millions of dollars for modernization.
Mm-hmm.
So they can go to that school where they have the ability, if enough of those students start coming back with the money, they have the resources. They can then hire the resources in the public schools,
Right.
actually addressing these things and start offering the kids more.
Right.
I was on TV maybe 2 years ago. Maybe I'll share the clip with you all one day.
Mm-hmm.
About something that DC schools used to do. Two programs that they had. One was the ski program. This was a program that had been in existence for over 70 years in DC schools.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The program was set up where there were ski programs in all the city schools, and they started from a young age to introduce the sport of skiing to inner city students. They loved it. Every time I ran a ski trip, buses were filled. Okay. DC did away with the program because they don't have the funding. Now, this program was in existence for close to 80 years. They did away with the program because the funding is no longer there. The second was the student study abroad program, where I was one of the ambassadors for that. And I went on Channel 4 News to talk about the students that I had recruited. Basically, it was a selection process that the students went through for all the schools. And we selected, based on your population size, we had a minimum amount that we could actually select to go study abroad. And I had to convince students to actually, to apply for it, because DC paid for everything.
Everything.
Wow.
Okay. And DCPS did away with that program. Okay. Because they don't have the funding for it anymore. Now, back before you had the vouchering program and so forth that Betsy DeVos was a proponent of, Lenita, to answer your question, what is this going to do? By getting rid of her, you now get rid of the head person that was trying to promote the vouchering program. Okay. Because since she's came into existence, all of these programs are no longer in existence because they don't have the funding for it anymore.
Do you know, has Biden made that appointment for the
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is this somebody that you like?
His nominee is a gentleman. I want to say he's Hispanic.
Yes, he is.
I'm trying to get his name. I was just looking at let me find it real quick.
And I know that I think he has an actual background in education.
Yeah.
That's refreshing. Somebody who actually
It's amazing that we have to say this. It's just amazing.
His name is Miguel Cardona. He was the
Right.
commissioner of education in Connecticut.
Okay.
But he has a background in education, whereas Betsy DeVos came from a private industry where she was basically lobbying, for the promotion of
Gum.
vouchering system.
Bubble gum.
So, we actually have somebody now who's competent.
Yeah.
We didn't even welcome her when she said she was coming. I was actually in the schools when she first came on board, and a lot of people used to always come down to Roosevelt High School because they were the latest school that would just open, and so dignitaries and politicians used to always want to come there. When they indicated she was coming, I'm like, I'm not going to be here. Like, you all coordinate that. I'm gonna take off because I have a desire to aid in having her come to the school, because it would have been my job to set up everything and coordinate things. I'm like, yeah, and I told my principal, and even my principal was like, yeah, I'm taking off too.
Nobody liked her.
No,
because she wasn't for the system.
And she didn't like them either.
Yeah, she didn't. She wasn't for public education. Let's be clear. And how are you going to have somebody who over the agency that oversees public education, who's not for education?
Wait a minute. Didn't she even she even supported the idea of eliminating that particular department? She wasn't even a supporter of the Department of Education.
I think a lot of them were put in to eliminate the departments that they were appointed to.
Yes.
I think you're right.
I remember when he put Rick Perry in charge of the Department of Energy, and Rick Perry had said like he didn't know what the Department of Energy did, and then when they put him in, he was like, "Whoa, this is actually important."
What about Ben Carson over her? Ben Carson,
He's a doctor.
over what?
Who despises poor people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was poor.
Yes.
But saved. He was saved by Mother Teresa.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
It's
He didn't want
crazy.
anybody benefiting from all the things that he benefited from.
It's unbelievable. It was, and
I won't
for us to have to repeatedly say, yeah, and they're qualified. They have the experience.
I mean, I will say I have an FHA loan, and I did think that they did a pretty good job of, excuse me, of managing all the stuff that had to happen in the pandemic to try to help homeowners, with the new rules and everything that they put out about being able to defer your payments and doing loan modifications and stuff like that. Like, it just seemed like they had their act together, maybe more so than some of the other departments that were trying to deal with the pandemic.
But it wasn't credited to him because those people been there in place, and they went through the foreclosure. So
right.
Yeah. He was in his office and they probably told him, you just stay in there. You don't even come out in peace. Don't even come out in peace. Just don't even say a word.
I'm trying to remember if I even ever saw him. Did he ever do any national programs where he was spearheading and out front? I just never.
I'm sorry.
I know he was there, but I'm literally trying to think. What did Ben Carson do?
Tried to get rid of low-income housing, I believe. Tried to eliminate a lot of it.
He tried to eliminate
raise the rents.
Right, raise the rent.
It's like, do you not understand what HUD does? I guess you don't. All right.
Right.
I don't. Yeah.
And then he's an improvised people. I mean, what are you doing?
People
like he actually.
All right.
Do you remember when he was first offered a position in Trump's government? He said, "No, I'm not qualified."
Right.
And Trump needed a brown face, and so finally he accepted HUD.
He said, "Okay." It's like what?
The crazy thing, he's a product of Detroit, Michigan public education schools.
Wow.
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 And it just goes to show you, you forget.
From whence you come.
From whence you come.
But they say when you use that ladder to pull yourself up, but then you cut it out from under you, so no one else can do it.
You want to forget about, how you got to where you're at. You know, but he's fortunate. He can roll back. He's a brilliant doctor, neurosurgeon.
Right. Yeah.
And that's it.
I don't know. I think his brain's maybe a little fried now.
I mean, oh my goodness, it's as though he were gifted in one area only.
Do you remember when it was? I think it was Katie Porter who was questioning him.
The Oreo.
The Oreo thing. She was talking about an REO.
Right.
I forget what that stands for, but he's like, "You mean Oreo? Like the cookie?" And he's like, "Oh, I was making a joke."
And she says he sent her a package of Oreos.
Yeah.
Wow.
We won't get to have any more laughs like that in the next one.
I know. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm just glad that when you look at, the Biden cabinet, you actually see confident people that he's nominated. And I'm just so impressed with the diversity of his cabinet. Like he said that he would have the most diverse cabinet ever. And when you look at it,
it's America.
It is.
But it's not gratuitously diverse. It's people who are actually qualified
Correct.
to do the things that they've been hired to do.
Yep.
Yes, not just tokenism, just sticking somebody there, And the transgender that they nominated from Pennsylvania,
I think that's so cool.
Sandra, you were stating that they that Rachel, she did a great job there.
Sorry, I'm kind of missing. I'm only hearing a little half of what you said. Oh, Rachel Levine.
Yes.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's been the health director of Pennsylvania under Governor Wolf. And Governor Wolf is one of those people.
Daryl, I think you may need to mute up. Can Daryl hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, you may need to mute up because she's getting feedback.
Oh.
Okay, do I need to turn my sound down or something?
Oh no, you good. You good now.
Okay. Yeah, so our governor, I think that he's done a good job managing the pandemic because he insists on listening to the scientists. And he has never, rushed to reopen the state as much pressure as he's been under, especially from the Republicans in our state legislature. Mm-hmm. And they've tried so many different things, like they tried to impeach him and take him to court and all that to try to get his emergency orders thrown out. Mm-hmm. And my feeling is, if you want to live in a state where they just don't care, go move to Florida.
Florida, right.
I would rather live in a state where the government is actually listening to the scientists. So she was always there, side by side and talking about, well, here's what the infection rate is. And once we get the infection rate down to this percentage, then we can gradually reopen. So we've been through a whole process of, lockdown when it gets really bad, reopen a little bit in stages. We've done like stage reopenings. And then over the summer, when they had things under control, for the most part, we were mostly reopened, but he had a mask mandate in place. So, and that's all been like, she's been guiding the whole process. So I think she was a great hire. She's a great pick.
Okay.
And unfortunately, because she's trans, there's a lot of idiots and bigots that want to make rude comments whenever there's some sort of post about her. And I try to report them every time I see them,
Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. It's, we just need to be grateful and thankful that now we have a president that is putting people in place that have the experience, the expertise to carry out the duties of the position that will, make America be
Great
best.
again.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That should be his motto. We're going to really make America great again.
Yes, for real, for real. It's just but it's just so, I mean, I was saying that, when they were entering the area for the inauguration, then you saw the snowflakes, and I was like, oh, that's a sign of purification, because snow is supposed to purify. And then the sun came out so bright, and it was supposed to the prediction was scattered showers, and they didn't get any rain. And so I'm like, okay, the gods are pleased.
Yeah.
They're like, here's a little snow. We got to purify the little atmosphere around there because whatever. And now here's the sunshine.
Did
No
y'all
sage but snow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Anita.
I said no sage but snow.
Right.
Yeah, but I was wondering if y'all watched the show afterwards, the evening show where they had the musical performances, and the PBS they had a little intro, and Ken Burns, who did the documentary about jazz, and
I loved his interview.
Yeah, it was like great. He
Yeah.
said it was like a cleansing.
Yeah. Did you see the parade around the parade around the United States? They had different.
No,
the people dancing.
Right. Well, that was the dance around America, but then they had a parade around America. Like they had different, some schools were had their band or whatever, but it's like they had a parade around America. They had a dance around America. They just had so many things that was about America and unity and just
it reminded me of the convention when they did the convention. It must have been the same producers.
Right. And
I'm sorry, I was just going to say that. I was just going to point out that was one thing, the difference between the DNC convention and the RNC convention.
Yes.
The RNC convention was like a horror show mixed up with a David Lynch movie, mixed up with
people screaming and
the best is
I was thinking of Kimberly Guilfoyle.
Yes, I was like, she is on something. Somebody, I'm telling you, she is always screaming or dancing or just crazy.
I just had to watch that convention because it was just so it was just out there.
Yeah, and even Don Jr. was like, I'm like, what is going on? And it was so bland. It was always the same, I'm like, oh wow, y'all just really
Where'd you score that Coke?
Oh yeah.
Who is bringing him cocaine at the White House?
Oh goodness. So what do you think they're going to do about the joy?
Well, they're limited in what they can do about him because that's one of those. This is because of Mitch McConnell. Ugh. This is another thing he did besides the judges that he kept all bottled up and wouldn't let there be a hearing for Obama to confirm them, right? He did the same thing with the Postal Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So then Trump, he who shall not be named, for Daryl, appointed, I think there's 6, and I think there's 4 Republicans and 2 Democrats. And they're the ones that brought in DeJoy. So they're the ones that have to get rid of him. And the Republicans are all like, oh, yes, we love him. He's great. They want the Postal Service to be destroyed, basically, because Republicans have been trying to privatize it since the 90s.
Exactly.
Because it's the one really, really good thing that works really, really well. So they want to screw it up so they can make money. But I was reading that I guess Biden there may be 2 or 3 more seats or something that Biden could appoint so that then the Democrats could have a majority and then hopefully get him out.
Push him on out. Yeah.
I think, don't quote me on that, but if I read it correctly.
Yeah, I'm just believing that they're gonna be able to get some of these people who participated in this alleged steal on the other side,
Yeah.
can be
Stop
gone.
the steal was actually a steal.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Everything that they put out there is exactly what they were doing.
And when they said, we're fighting against tyranny, it's like, no, you're really trying to install tyranny.
Yes. It's like, really? And it's so obvious. You're doing it in our face. And so many people have just turned a blind eye. And it's like, I was online and someone was talking about, someone said, how can you even, consider backing up someone who, you remember when he was mocking the disabled person? You remember when he did that? Okay. Well, somebody said the news took that and ran with it. He didn't do that. And everybody was like, but we saw it with our own eyes.
They would deny what you had video evidence for.
Really? And I said, okay, I'm just not going to,
That's when I was like, y'all need psychological help.
Right. I'm like, really? Really? And you saw it too. No one's running with anything. But like I said, even with who we won't name, they really, I said, sometimes I really believe that they believe that they didn't say what they said because it's two of them or maybe three inside their head. And sometimes the other one didn't tell the other one what they said. And so the other one is like, no, I didn't say that.
No.
And the other one's like, but no, we did. I mean, they may tell them later.
It's hard to know because I kind of figured after 4 years, it seemed to me like they knew that it was real. They knew all this stuff he said, he really said, but they're just lying to us. They're like arguing in bad faith to us.
The problem is it was systematic. If you mapped out what he did, what Hitler did, what Mussolini did, what authoritarians do, they do it in the same way.
Yeah.
Again, it's Goebbels' lie, big lie. You tell it often enough, and you get enough people to say it, not believe it, but say it. Eventually, people start to believe it.
Right.
And I always go back to, again, Donald Trump years ago was instructed by Tony Robbins in the use of Tony Robbins' version of neuro-linguistic programming, how to influence people, how to get them to think and behave in a manner that you want. And Trump would do that by repeating things, the same thing over and over. Like
that's true.
Antifa was responsible along with Black Lives Matter for a lot of the destruction that occurred during the marches. Well, the FBI said the majority of the fires and the broken buildings, destroyed buildings were caused by members of the right.
Yep.
Right.
But Trump kept saying Antifa, and then he got Bill Barr to say Antifa and others. And he kept saying it and saying it. And now I hear people repeating his words, but his words were lies. But that's one thing you do. You repeat, and you become comfortable with it. You get people comfortable with it. Next thing you know, you don't need to say anything.
At the same time, he would always say what he was going to do.
Right.
But he couldn't believe it because it was so outrageous.
Yeah. Because he said months ago, if I don't win, it's rigged.
Right.
I don't win, it's rigged. And you're like, well, are you psychic? How are you even going to know that? But he said he was going to say it was rigged, whether it was rigged or not.
Right. Exactly. And because, go on, Lenita.
He said it in 2016.
Right.
The same.
And Hillary said it in the debate. Hillary said in the debate because they asked, was it Chris Wallace? I forget who was the host, but or the MC or whatever. He had asked Donald Trump, well, are you going to accept the results? They had to ask him back then if he was going to accept the results. And he was like, well, we'll see. And then Hillary said, you see, this is a problem, but this is what he always does. When he loses, he claims it's rigged. She pointed it out.
Right. And then too, he tried so many things. They tried so many things, and he is so bewildered.
They set up that hotline. They set up that hotline call if you got voter fraud, and they were getting people just saying ridiculous things.
Yes. And then they finding out even some of the people that was doing some voter fraud was Republicans, and there was some backers. And I'm like, okay. Then it's like we want to recount, and then Biden got a few more votes, and so like, what?
3 recounts in Georgia and an audit.
And what? How many 60 cases they brought before the
62, and they won 1.
Right.
Right. And the thing about it, and they were the majority of the federal judges that it went before said no.
His own judges.
Yeah.
I love that they made fun of him. Well, not him, the case. They said, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes.
And then he's calling, it's so comical. He's calling up the Secretary of State in Georgia, not even thinking he might be recorded, and like, so I just need 11,000 and something other vote. I just
780. 11,780.
And then
like, what's the Secretary of State gonna do? Get up there and go, guess what? We found these in a drawer.
Wow, yes. Come on. So it's just been like really, and he just out and open about it, you know,
because he has no moral compass.
Yeah.
Right. And
not even a little pinky, not
but the Christian evangelicals. Now they said, they prophesied, they said he gonna have 2 terms. I don't know what y'all talking about. This man, then no, y'all just wait after the election. Oh no, you just wait in December. Oh no, you just wait in January the 6th. Oh no, you just wait. January 20th, he will be inaugurated. Oh no, now they're saying March 3rd he's going to be inaugurated. I guess he's going to be taken by the Space Force up into Mars. Maybe he'll be president up there.
I don't know. Aliens are going to come and get Biden.
I don't know.
Beam him up.
Oh, and was it you that posted that somebody said that they were going to switch their faces?
No, that was satire.
Oh.
Satire post about it's like that movie Face Off. That Biden inaugurated. It's because they switched faces.
But somebody gonna take that and run with it and say,
I know,
you know,
it's not any more ridiculous than what they already believe. So,
is that the one that said that he's actually Biden? Biden is actually John Kennedy with a different face.
No, they think JFK Jr. is still alive.
Yeah, they said.
I wish. I miss him.
I know. They said that.
I remember when they found his remains out in the ocean. That was 1999 after his plane crash. Like, he's not alive. No way.
July 31st, 1999. He died the same day as my uncle, who died in Florida. And as sad as that was, I really mourned John because he had been around all my life.
Yeah. It was sad. It was
really sad.
It didn't have to happen, you know. It was just like
because everybody was saying don't fly.
It was like a guy thing. Sorry, Daryl.
Yeah, just like
that's where he would be now if he was still living.
I think you're muted. Are you muted, Daryl?
No, he's here.
Not anymore.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, just like, you know, it's a guy thing about them asking about directions.
That's right. It's like
just don't listen.
We got GPS now. GPS.
Oh,
give me to this address. It puts it up. We don't even have to worry about it anymore.
Don't even have to worry about that anymore. But yeah, we're just now gonna we just have to pray things, you know, will continue to go forward and in a positive manner, and we get things rolling, because it looks like Biden is really pushing. I mean, he's not playing. I mean, and then what's his name? Tucker Carlson. I really wanted to really, he's going to get on there and say, yes, he's been in there 9 hours and 400,000 people died from COVID. Excuse me, did they die in 9 hours? What? What? I see. now
They
Fox
want
has to get their viewership back.
They're
Yeah,
going
they
to get
want-
even more ridiculous, I think.
Yes,
They're going to get, because they're going to try to compete with Newsmax and OAN, so you're going to see some
yes.
crazy things coming out of that stupid channel.
I'm like, what? Okay, so they all in 9 hours that he's been president, that's when all the people passed away. Okay. What?
Yeah.
I didn't think he'd noticed at all.
Yeah, all of a
Right.
sudden they care.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
care
come
about how
on.
many people died of COVID. When how long did they say it was a hoax?
Yes, a total hoax. So it's like, whew. Well, we just pray that they can get it under control and that the new strand doesn't spread too much. I think Fauci said it's in like 20 states, he believed, in
Yeah.
the United States. So they said it's not as deadly, but it just is, you can catch it quicker.
Right. You catch it easier.
Yeah, it spreads quicker. But we just have to mask up because now it's for certain. It's the law, on federal ground and so forth. And
Are any of you going to take the vaccine when available?
Yeah, it'll be a while before I can, but sure.
I think.
yeah,
Yeah, I think I'm going to be taking within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
okay.
I'll be taking a shot.
I have
Yeah.
several friends that have already taken it, and have this second shot, and so they haven't like turned green yet or anything.
Or like that one doctor died. And of course, that one doctor now represents, what is it, 12, 14 million people.
Right.
17 million, I think they said, have been vaccinated.
And
One death, I don't even think they proved it was because of the vaccine, right? Did they
That's
prove
right. That's right. They didn't.
right. And then the nurse that they said that she fainted or fell over when she was getting the shot, and now they saying that she's dead, and the hospital saying no, she's not, and then they're like
They're lying.
Fake news.
they replaced her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not really her in that
She's
picture.
a crisis actor.
Right. Why don't she say something on her social media? It's like, oh my goodness. So
I gave Americans more credit, but I guess I should not have.
Yeah, right. Who knew there were this many idiots among us?
it's like, really? Is this for real? But yeah, it's I just feel like Daryl said, it's like a weight lifted off of you. You can breathe again. And just believing that now we have a good administration, people who are experienced and know what to do and are ready to do it. And now that we have the House and the Senate and the White House, we pray that things can get through that needs to get through. That's my prayer.
Even more, now we have a president, for some of us, who represents all of us and doesn't tell us that if you want me to represent you, then you have to support me. Otherwise, you aren't getting shit, basically. And it was hard to really feel like an American when your own president didn't think of you as one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even still, I think we're still feeling the repercussions of stuff he did because here in Pennsylvania with our unemployment, with the PUA unemployment and all that,
Mm-hmm.
the state kept saying, we're waiting for the guidelines from the federal government. They didn't even get them until mid-January, just
Wow.
a week or so ago. So now, and they have to completely change their computer system for all the different requirements that they have for this new bill. And of course, he who shall not be named waited. If he had just signed it the day that the unemployment ended, then it would have been, it would just flowed right into, but no.
Mm-mm.
You had to wait.
Like,
all this problem, and there's people that just like they're panicking because they can't pay their bills, and so we're still. And I felt that was like a punishment, probably. They wanted to punish Pennsylvania because probably played a big role in getting him out.
Exactly.
Right.
Listen, he was a vindictive man.
Yes, and that's evil.
If you look at like interviews of him, there was one I saw on YouTube from the 1990s where he said, "I live to get even."
Yes.
Who says
Yes.
that?
Yes.
10 times over. You hurt them 10 times worse than they hurt
Yes, that's
you.
what he did say.
And you do it forever.
That is no way to live.
I'm sorry Fred didn't love you. Fred should have loved you, but he didn't because you were unlovable.
Exactly.
Totally. I know because he didn't get along with his mom. His mom probably was like, "What is this?"
She had. Did you read Mary's book? If you haven't read Mary Trump's book, read Mary Trump's book. The kids did not have a close relationship with the mother for a reason.
Okay.
And so it was just Fred. And Fred was a rat, and he taught his son to be a rat.
Be a rat, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember they were charged by the federal government for housing discrimination?
Right. And it's worse. Read the book. It's worse.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember her saying in interviews that the whole family was racist. They grew up like that.
And anti-Semitic. Although he didn't want anyone without a Jewish name working on handling his money.
Right. The guys who wear the little hats.
That's right. This guy was president. Oh my goodness.
Scary.
It's
never
like,
never
put some things in place.
We will never be able to live that down. The fact that the world, the country was doomed.
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing. The people who voted for him, they were duped insofar as they thought he would provide jobs because they needed them. But there was a part of them that knew exactly what he was about.
Yeah.
And that's what they wanted.
He was who we thought he was, and that didn't surprise me. Who I hold accountable is the people that surrounded him, because they knew better.
Yeah, they allegedly tried, but
they enabled.
When you're working with a narcissistic sociopath, excuse me, he was a psychopath. Then what can you do?
It's like nothing. I mean, because they are who they are. Unless you
they control them. They're all about control.
Put them in a padded room.
Those type of people, the only way that you can hurt them is that you really have to hit them where it hurts, and that's in the pocket.
In the pocket,
right?
You know, and that he understands that. Let's be clear.
And with all the different charges that's going to come, you know, and even some of the people who passed away at that insurrection, they may even try to do a civil.
Oh, I hope so.
You know,
I hope so. The family members.
Yeah. I hope they really think about that.
That would be a little difficult, especially when so many of them are on record, Facebook, other things are saying, I'm going to do this thing and I'm willing to die.
Right. That is true. But except for the guard.
Oh, the policeman.
You're right. He never even mentioned him. And it was like they had to strong arm him to even bring down the flag hashtag.
Oh yeah, the White House wouldn't
right.
The flag at half mast for him.
You know,
and he was a Trump
supporter. Right, and they were doing a GoFund for him. I mean, that's like really
terrible. It's terrible.
Terrible. So now we'll go around for our last words.
All right.
Okay. So, Sandra, you give us your last words.
My last word. That's a tough one because I was going to try to do this project where I felt like it's going to be so easy for everyone to just like breathe a sigh of relief and move on and forget everything that we went through. So I wanted to do this project because all this whole 4 years I've been so, active in everything and keeping all these screenshots of the stuff Trump was doing, but also memes and conversations on Twitter about everything. And so I wanted to do like a history of his administration in social media. And because I have collected so much, and I was going to do it through Instagram. So it would track, like, we just had the Biden inauguration, so I'll post some stuff that took place for his inauguration. And I started working on it, and then I was like, this is icky, because it just brings up so many bad memories.
Yeah.
So I'm still evaluating, do I want to do this project or not?
Yes, yes, you do.
Now you're just like, okay, it felt so much better. Just want to. It's like a bad relationship that you just phone who this. I don't want anything.
I don't want nothing from it.
Yeah, but you also have to have a lessons learned period too. So,
do you know how we still quote Joseph Goebbels? That's because his work was preserved. Yes, complete your project.
It's a good point.
Well, you heard, Lanita.
Maybe I need to see a therapist while I'm doing it, though. It's triggering.
Okay. So, Lanita, you want to go?
I do. I will say I'm not sanguine. I don't feel good about the future. Biden's going to have an uphill climb for the next 4 years. The Trump supporters are retrenching. They're recruiting actively more white supremacists to fill their ranks. They're determined to have a civil war. And so I think what people who care about democracy have to do is remain vigilant and be willing to put your butts on the line when you're needed, because I think it will be needed.
Good point.
We can't become complacent. And when we see something, we need to say something. And if we see something that Biden's doing that will not redound to the benefit of the country, we need to say something, because we don't want to become like the hypocrites on the other side. So remain vigilant, and all of those allies we made and connections we made, we need to keep those.
Definitely.
Good point.
Okay, Daryl.
I think what this has brought me to, like I indicated earlier, it has led me to start getting out there and become involved with politics on a local level first, because it's one thing to do all the talking and not actually get out there and do anything. So that's something that I do want to do. As Lanita said, I do think we need to be vigilant and be on top of things, because they're not stopping. And if we become complacent, we can just find ourselves right back in the same spot we were in 4 years ago. And that would truly be a tragedy at that point. So, my thing is to start in on a grassroots level, educating people, getting our youth ready, preparing for what's to come and so forth. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay. Yes. Well, I would have loved to have been the one who won the Powerball. They was like, Maryland. I was like, what? Where? Western Maryland. Okay, that's whatever. But I definitely thank you all for coming and being on the panel, because this is just something that I felt I wanted to start a while back, my little purple couch talk, because I think it's just time for people to come together and talk about issues and things, and now that we have social media and we can reach out to more people, I think we need to use the vehicles that we have to really, come together, especially after what we've been in this horrible relationship, this reality show that we did not sign up for, and I didn't get paid. Did any, So I just think, we need to do more things like this and, connect. I mean, because I met Sandra through Facebook.
That's
you know,
right.
Anita I work with. I met Daryl from the Modern. So, you know, it's just bringing like-minded people together to, like Lanita said, we definitely have to continue to be vigilant. We can't become slack and too comfortable. You know, we definitely need to understand that they are regrouping, even though they may not, some of them may be going against Trump, they still are white supremacists.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to be made aware of. And they felt so comfortable these 4 years to come out, and I don't think a lot of them are going to crawl back under rocks. So, so definitely, again, thank you all, and I will be having more of these talks, and there'll be different topics, and I will definitely, you know, reach out to you all and see if you want to participate on the panel.
Great.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So good night and be blessed.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night, Sandra. Good night, Daryl.
Good night.
Good night, Anita. Good night, Daryl.
Night.